Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis, and today is April 29th, and we've got a This Week at Bungie, and we've got quite a few perks and weapon changes to go over. But the high-level news is Vault of Glass, VOG. It's the first raid from Destiny 1, and they are launching it back out on May 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific. So this will be a Saturday, basically at noon Central Time for me, so it's fine. And there is going to be a race and some options to it. So, the main pieces, you will need to be 1300 power to be at the cap for all encounters. Contest mode is going to be active. 1300 power is literally the powerful gear cap right now. So, if you play at all, because 1310 is going to be the powerful cap come next season, if you've been playing at all, you're probably already 1305 or something if you've been doing some pinnacles, if not higher than that. So, being 1300 power is not going to be hard for everybody. And it's like 2 weeks after launch, or week and a half after launch anyway. So, yeah, 1300 power should not be difficult to do. Second piece, once you clear the Vault of Glass with contest mode active, which is where you're going to start, the first step to access the new challenge mode in the Director and the Tempo's Edge Triumph. This is going to be for the world's first raid race. You could say second world's first raid race because, the vault is 7 years old, but still this is how this is going to work. So completing Tempo's Edge, the Triumph, a curated list of triumphs, in this newly unlocked challenge will be how a fire team crosses the world's first finish line and claims the prize. To enforce this triumph in the challenge mode, your team will wipe if you fail to succeed conditions during encounter. What's the prize? They're doing a silver raid belt because it is a reissued raid as opposed to a gold one like many of the others. So they've also got a cool thing where Prime Guard is actually shown on here for 2014 the first time, and then you'll have the new clan over there for the second one. Couple other things. Challenge mode and Tempo's Edge will only be available for the first 24 hours, and then that node will disappear. They said that encounter challenges will become available again later in the season. They'll have a full array of raid rewards and stuff like that with regards to the Vault of Glass. Launches on a Sunday or a Saturday. We've seen decent amount of it before. Definitely looking forward to trying it. Should be fun. But again, so May 22nd, 10 a.m. Pacific. 1300 is your highest gear that you need. Should not be hard to hit if you're not already there. You're going to have the contest mode first, and then the challenge mode triumphs that you'll have to go through to really get everything done. So that is basically it about Vault of Glass. At least now we have a date. Next, we come to the world of weapons and perks. Weapons themselves, they first go into some discussion about the world of heavy weapons, what they want them to do. Usually they have specific roles. You can have ad clear, basically just clearing out a bunch of ads in rocket explosions or machine gun bullets. You've got single target damage, same thing, picture a rocket smashing into a boss. Burst damage, during on a champion or a boss phase, something along those lines. They kind of explain what they want the power weapons to do. They say swords, ammo efficient for ad clear, sustained damage on a single target. Rocket launcher, big giant burst damage or an explosion to clear ads. Machine guns, ammo efficient ad clear, secondary single target sustained damage. We expect to adjust machine guns in a future season. They're currently not hitting its target. At least they acknowledge it, because a lot of people have been asking for this. They brought them down like 20%, along with some snipers and stuff like that. Good to see at least this one has a hope of coming back up for now. Linear fusions, there's a lot of talk about those, so we'll get to that. Single target sustained damage. Not really doing so much right now for either of those, so they're getting a buff. Drum grenade launchers, burst ad clear, single target damage. And then exotic snipers, single target sustained damage. Again, snipers are still not where they probably should be either. Guess they can't do everything at once. So we'll get to some of these weird ideas I have. They give examples of how they've used heavy weapons in Nightfalls. You can go look at the Bungie article to see those. They have a couple different examples of how they kind of see heavy weapons used in different ways. 2 ways for balanced philosophy. This opens a big ball of wax, or a can of worms, whatever you want to use for a, metaphor. Big swings. Picture the rocket launcher buff recently of 30%. We didn't hear anything about rocket launchers for what felt like maybe not 2 years, but a year and a long time, to say that least. Then they make a big change, and you can feel it pretty much immediately. The other side is incremental change. Maybe they don't want to go too far. Maybe they want to nudge something up or give it little baby bumps at a time. One thing I do want to bring up here is, personally for me, I'm curious why. Big swings like rocket launchers. A lot of people said for the very long time, rocket launchers need help, rocket launchers need help. And then finally, like 18 months later, you get a 30% bump. Why not do the incremental changes? Well, theories could theoretically be if you give a big swing to something, you're going to shift the meta in the game, be like, everybody's using swords. Well, we're going to knock down swords and we're going to really crazy buff rockets. Well, guess what's being used right now? Rockets. So it is a way for Bungie to shift the meta in their game so they kind of have this cyclical rotation of what big weapons are being used. Maybe. Who knows? That could be completely tinfoil speculation. On the other side, the incremental changes may be small, so small sometimes that people won't notice. A 10% buff to rockets. Be like, well, it's a little bit, but still not enough. Okay, next season, here's 10% more. And sometimes the incremental may not be quite as noticeable. And then finally, it's like, hey, this is the third time we bumped these things up 10%. It's 30 from where they were a while ago. Go check them out. They feel actually finally right. But if it's been so little, maybe the player base doesn't feel it as well. So I don't know, and believe me, I have my thoughts the way some of buffs and debuffs and all those things have happened over time. And there's reasons for both. But generally, you can say they do have the big swing and the incremental change idea going on different things. Sometimes I just wish the big swings didn't take so long, or at least try some incremental in the meantime to give some stuff some love. Rockets were not used for a long time. We'll get to linear fusions in a similar idea because they haven't been great for a while either. They do mention damage fall off distances. Basically just starts from hip fire range, and then ADS and zooming has effect to that. If you want to get into the details, podcast called Firing Range, Destiny Down Under with Mercules. There are some very detailed people for that type of stuff. I'm probably not your guy on that one, but just know hip fire distance, if you're wondering, kind of starts at hip fire, and then zoom and ADS will affect it. Main thing about archetypes, weapons, you've got precision auto rifles. On these, picture 7 Seraph Carbine, Shadow Price if you got one this season. Those are your 450s. Your damage, and again, this is like a PvP number, so still damage should go up a little bit, going up per bullet from 17 to 18. I don't know what that does to its time to kill, but it's getting a baby bump, and they haven't been in a great spot, so they're getting a little love. I'm still wondering if the 360s also need some love, but they're not getting anything right now. This one boggles my mind a little bit, so if you guys have any thoughts in the comments, please let me know outside of filling a random gap. It said they added a rare machine gun and a bow to the world loot pool, but they didn't have an attainable linear fusion rifle or breach grenade launcher, so special slot, and want to make sure these archetypes available. So they're adding existing but unobtainable rare linear fusion rifle and breach grenade launchers to the world loot pool. So the world loot pool has a couple more blues. Cool. I don't know why they're adding rares. I'm really not sure. So if you have any ideas, let me know. The only idea that my chat could come up with something for like maybe new players trying to be able to do certain bounties possibly. That's my only guess. Outside of that, they're not doing me a lot of good. I already don't care about blues. Linear fusions. There's a giant paragraph about these, and there's a discussion that some people want to see linear fusions go into the special slot. Maybe. But main thing is right now they want to try and buff them in the heavy slot and see if they can get some health. 20% ammo reserve, so you got more ammo in reserves, and also precision damage boost by 15%. They still want these to be single target crit damage focused weapons, so maybe this precision damage will help. I know somebody like Error out there has done linear fusion testing with like the new one with Frenzy and everything else, and it still wasn't enough compared to other weapons in DPS. Maybe this will help, and the reserves will let you shoot longer. We'll just have to put this one out there. At least they're getting some love, so that's a good thing. I've got one right now that's actually has Frenzy on it maybe, so I'll have to test it out. Finally, fusion rifles. They're increasing damage fall-off start distance. So the damage fall-off is going to start 2 meters farther out than it does currently. That's the main changes to weapons. Not sure about the rares, but you got precision autos, linear fusions getting a little buff, and the range on linear fusion, on regular fusion rifles getting a little farther. Now let's talk about perks. All right, so we got a lot of changes with perks. I'm going to basically hit the high notes of each one. If you want to read the description about all of them, go check out the article. But subsistence no longer reduces reserve ammunition, and also submachine guns now get a 17% ammo, basically ammo straight back into your clip as opposed to the 10% from before. Subsistence no longer reducing your ammo reserve is actually big for things like SMGs, hand cannons, subsistence actually has really no downside, and something like subsistence and rampage, like I've got on an auto rifle right now, can be really powerful. So subsistence theoretically could be a much more desirable perk going forward. High impact reserves and under pressure. Basically, there was a bug that it would not trigger until at least you fire the weapon once, and as you're towards the end of a clip anyway, Now they should be active as long as the condition of basically being in the bottom half of the magazine or whatever it is. As long as the weapon is acting at the point where it needs to be, they will work as intended. So, fixed. Check mark. Check that box. Unrelenting. It is now easier to trigger in PvE, which is a good thing. Immediate trigger on all majors, which is good. And heals 20% more. So, might give you a little bit more viability in some of those more difficult encounters. And the healing 20% more, never a bad thing. Sympathetic Arsenal. It's not that appealing. So they did buff the reload speed, so plus 20 to reload if you do have that perk. So your weapon reloads faster. And then when you reload that, remember the primary effect is reloading stowed weapons as well. It's actually a really good thing for bows. So if it's going to increase reload speed and say you have like Archer's Tempo, you're going to be firing that bow pretty quick, and then you'll still be able to hop over to wherever you need, heavy, breach load, whatever it is. Should be pretty interesting. So at least Sympathetic Arsenal getting a little baby buff. Reload speed, not bad. Dragonfly, not a big buff, but overall it now works on heavy shanks and servitors, and it occurs even faster than in Season of the Chosen Fix. So it should actually work a little bit better on bigger targets that still have crit spots, and then also you've got it going to occur even faster, so there's less of a delay. Just benefits overall. There's a giant paragraph here about hipfire grip. I'm just going to read the first line, and if you want to get into this, again, those podcasts, firing range, Marcules with the Destiny Down Under, like those guys are all in the nitty gritty and details. Plus 1 degree precision hipfire grip angle threshold, which is a mouthful in itself. Plus 1.2 reticle stickiness fall off distance. There's a whole bunch of detail about what that is, but basically it sounds like the precision hipfire angle is going to be probably a little tighter than it is right now. Just take that as you will, and if you want to get more detail, there are smarter people than me on that one. Iron grip, iron gaze, and iron reach. They said they were cautious when they were making them. The penalty, the secondary stat penalty, because you get 1 buff and 1 debuff, is going from -40 to -30. I still personally don't think these are worth it, as it's still usually a pretty important hit that you're going to take, like stability from -30 range, or the only one that's probably okay, I think, is the stability for reload speed. But outside of that, the other two can honestly go. To me, they're not worth the penalty, in my opinion. But again, I'm not the balancers. Overall, I just don't like the big give and take. So it's fine, but it just is still not going to sell me on those perks. Osmosis. So now it will work with stasis damage. So if you're running a stasis subclass, you will fire technically stasis damage. They don't have stasis weapons in the game, but theoretically you're still going to get the stasis damage. This I see only helping you with things like bounties, probably where you need stasis damage, gives you another option. Other than that, this is not going to do anything. I don't think it's going to have the effect because no other element does this. Let me shoot a guy 6 times with a stasis osmosis weapon, and then it turns into a frozen enemy. I don't see that happening. If it does, that would be fantastic, and I wish that's what would happen with, like, solar damage setting people on fire, but that's not the way the game works. That would take a big system change. Maybe someday we'll get that, but right now, probably just, you know, satisfying bounty requests. As for Elemental Capacitor, with a stasis subclass, so it will work here as well, you get plus recoil direction, so your recoil direction is going to be better. We'll have to figure out what that actually does. But it also reduces the ADS movement speed penalty. So honestly, it's like increasing your mobility stat by having Elemental Capacitor. So you've got a stasis subclass that's already powerful in PvP, and now you've got a reduction in the ADS movement speed penalty. So basically, stasis subclasses with the Elemental Capacitor just got free mobility stats. They're going to be fun. That's all I got to say. But that theoretically, Elemental Capacitor could be a fun perk to have now, which is a good thing. No distractions. So they're reducing the trigger time. So you got to be ADS for 1 second instead of 1.5. And also reduce the flinch from 30 to 35%. Doesn't sound like a big buff. Again, to me, I wish some of those would be like 30 to 40 or 50. I don't know. If you're going to give up a perk that usually many other people enjoy, if you're going to be ADS and you commit to no distractions, it'd be nice to have that thing give a bit more of a reduction, but we'll just have to see. There's people, again, smarter than me when it comes to PvP perks to say yay or nay. They already talked about this previously. Celerity and Bottomless Grief will now have just a perk option all the time, and they're going to be kind of a second choice. Celerity now grants plus 20 to handling and plus 20 to reload. In addition, when it triggers, plus the Bottomless Grief, always plus 30 to the magazine, increase the, effect. Basically, it's the triggering effect is if you're the last person alive. And then finally, same thing, Thresh. The change is live, but basically Thresh now works in PvP. Got a couple things on this page. You've got mods. So your Adept mods, they're reducing the stat penalty. Again, they didn't want to make them too strong, but it really still hurts my soul a little bit when an Adept mod that you went through either a Grandmaster or a Trials still has a penalty to it, and it's not just a buff, but I can't win all these battles, it seems. But the secondary stat penalties go from -20 to -15, so it's a little less. They also said Adept Mag will apply to swords now, and then also Adept Counterbalance will increase the benefit. They don't say how much. I love how this is like the stat penalty from -20 to 15, but this is just increase the recoil direction benefit by somebody in the community is going to have to test it. Just give me the number. That's all I'm saying. Just put the number right over there. That's all. We've also got exotics. Mida, they're going to change the Catalyst perk from Outlaw to No Distractions after the community request. They also said Hawkmoon. It's going to have the Paracausal Charge and Shot buff text, the little stuff in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Going to be basically higher priority. Should not basically be bumped off of your screen. It should be there. Should be a bit more obvious, easy to see. Not bad. Final thing we basically got is the future. So they say, these I want to read to talk about real quick. All shotguns. We don't expect the change to the two dominant shotguns, that's Fellwinter's Lie and Astral Horizon, replacing Quick Draw with Surplus and nerfing Quick Draw to really move the needle on shotgun usage overall in PvP. Shotguns are still dominant and they probably will be. We agree with some of the comments that weapon usage is not only dependent on tuning, but that map design is also a factor. A lot of these maps do not give a whole bunch of room for more ranged options generally, unless you have pretty long sniper lanes, but there's not a ton. However, we want more weapons to be viable on all maps, and we can achieve this through tuning, giving other special weapons room to excel. Specifics coming later. That literally tells me nothing, just the fact that they're working on more special weapons. What are your special weapons? Well, fusion rifles. As with some of our other changes, we don't want to bump these up too much too fast, so we'll follow up if needed, so this one seems to tie into this one. Your other special weapons are trace rifles, which I still wish mods would work for. Breach load grenade launchers, and sniper rifles. Snipers are already an instant kill. They'll mess with their aim assist and stuff like that. But outside of that, you've got fusions, shotguns, traces, breach load grenade launchers, and snipers. Those are your main specials. Breach load grenade launchers, people hate right now. I'm one of those annoying people who probably enjoys using my salvager salvo, but definitely people wish those would go. Fusions, they're slowly trying to make sure if they can find a happy spot, but they also don't want to see an air until where it's just killing people from 6,000 meters away. So they're being very careful with fusions. But you go back to what, maps do determine what weapons are going to be viable in certain situations. So I'm very curious what this means. Because right now it's just a vague statement that shotguns are still going to be powerful. They want to buff stuff up. Maps still aren't there. They haven't mentioned anything about new PvP maps. So again, I don't know what this statement tells me. Besides the fact that they are looking at special weapons. Cool. I don't know what it means. Final piece is Dead Man's Tale. I hear this is fairly popular in PvP, especially on PC. They said, with the upcoming nerf to 120s, we expect to see a surge in Dead Man's Tale usage. Not shocking. It's already pretty popular. They said they've had enough moving pieces in Season 14 that we didn't want to try and squeeze this in at the same moment, but they said they have a change ready to go that reigns in the ability to challenge sniper rifles, which it should never do, in my opinion. No Dead Man's Tale at hipfire grip should ever mess with a sniper rifle. You shouldn't even be able to, mess with it, period. Just my opinion. 120s, yeah, I could see a scout rifle at hipfire and a hand cannon probably going toe-to-toe. Scout rifles in general, if you're ADS versus that one, I know it's an exotic, but again, not sure. While in hipfire grip without detracting from the fantasy of the weapon. They want to rein it in a little bit without killing it, so they got to walk a line, but that one will probably get a bit of a nerf at some point. And that basically wraps it up. So a lot of perk changes generally are mostly pretty good. Some positive stuff in there. I still don't care about the iron perks, but mostly everything else actually seems pretty positive. The linear fusions, we'll see if it's enough. Fusions getting a little damage fall off, probably to help counter shotguns. And outside of that, we'll just have to see where everything falls. But I like the fact that a lot of the perks are getting a little bit of an update. It's probably been about time, so that's good to see. And the VOG stuff, we have a date. It's on a Saturday. You'll have a raid race, and I'll probably check it out for sure. Might actually raid with my co-host. And speaking of that, we will be recording The Last Word number 147 tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Ebontis. We're going to have Pigeon. He's an awesome Scottish content creator, so I'm probably going to have an issue enjoying his accent, but it's going to be a hilarious episode, so join us for that one. You guys can also find me on Twitter and also right here on YouTube. If you did enjoy this video, drop a like below, leave a comment about any of this stuff. Let me know if you like perks, think a gun's more viable, hate this one, like this one. Let me know. I'm actually really curious what you guys think about all these changes. So drop those in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, drop a subscribe. Always help. Nice way to support the channel. And hit that alert bell if you want to see new videos from me. Thank you all very much. I'll see you guys soon. Maybe tomorrow morning in chat or on the campfire of The Last Word. Have a good one. Enjoy your night.